How to reverse hormonal imbalance through energetic realignment. Interview with Poornima Perry. Have you experienced burnout and did you recognize it? Or were you blinded by thinking it is normal to feel this way? What actions did you take to bring yourself out of it? Or are you still trying? Whichever stage of burnout you are, you may or may not realize that burnout is related to hormonal imbalance. And so, how do you recognize? How do you reverse it? Well, if you'd like to learn, stay tuned to find the answers. As our guest today, she's going to share her and her client stories on how to reverse hormonal imbalance through energetic realignment. It has helped her clients lose up to 33 pounds in 87 days. So let's find out how. Welcome to Happy and Healthy Mind Program, episode 119. Our guest today, Poornima Perry, is author of Hormone Reset book that has transformed 728 plus lives in last 1 year. Poornima intends to spread her message and her mission. Every woman deserves to live medication free so that she can do more for herself and her loved ones. I am so happy to welcome you. My name is Dr. Rosina. I help leaders stop burnout with precision wellness. I believe that our mind is the software that runs the hardware of our brain and our body. So here we share tips for mental fitness so people can live their healthiest life. If you need any medical advice, please consult your healthcare professional. But if you find this content helpful, then join our mission of eradicating preventable suffering by liking, subscribing, and sharing so more people can live and perform at their best with hope, health, and happiness. So let's learn from our guests. Thank you, Purnima, for joining us today, all the way from Australia.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Rosina, for such a beautiful, beautiful introduction. It's my pleasure and absolute honor to be part of this podcast to spread the message with the mission that you said that every woman truly, truly deserves to live a life medication free so that she can do more for herself and her loved ones. I'm happy to be part of this podcast and absolutely open to be able to answer any questions our viewers would have and anything that would help your audience and anything at all.
Wonderful. Thank you. I can hear your passion that is palpable. Tell me, how did this become important in your life? What was life like before you started applying some of the tools that you're going to teach us today?
So it all started one morning, the 9th of January 2019, which was actually the seventh birthday of my eldest son, and also a day which was meant to be celebrated because after landing in Australia, that was my first job that I had got my offer letter for, and I was expected to join on 15th January 2019. So the aura was all celebratory environment, party, etc. And a phone rings wherein my dad tells me that mom's MRI isn't good. I was like, what do you mean? He says the finally, after more than 1.5 years of trying to figure out what is actually bothering her back and legs, they have figured out that there is a tumor that's sitting in between her nerves, and that which at that point in time had made her actually bedridden. And the
Mhm.
minute the word tumor comes in mind, oh my God, I froze. Even now, when I speak about it, I get goosebumps of what it is, what was told at that point in time. And I froze for a second and I could not bring myself back because your mind races, like how you said,
Right,
mind
right,
software.
right.
Right, your mind races totally, and then thoughts of what does it mean? What, and he also said that probably it's malignant and not the origin. So
Right.
your mind races even further to, I cannot explain the thoughts that I had gone through and knew the kind of immediate, my body started to feel the stress all over. My
Right.
shoulders started to ache. My chest started to feel heavy. Of course, tears were rolling and rolling. But yeah, all of this was happening. And what I felt really, really bad at that point in time was mom was in India. Mom and dad were in India and I was over here in Australia. So I knew that even if I wanted to immediately give that physical hug to mom or to
Yeah.
say something, I couldn't do because I wasn't available with her over there. So it took some time for me to control myself and say, all right, let's see what else doctors have to say. But I knew with my dad's voice that things weren't looking good. So from there, the next 4 5 days, the way things turned out, Dr. Rozina, I had dropped 4 kgs in 4 days. That's the amount of tremendous stress, pressure, burnout that I had gone through, figuring out what it would be. And how did I figure out? I used Google. I used Google to see what
Don't
it
most of us do that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I used Google to figure out what it could be. I did not give myself opportunity to let the doctor to meet the oncologist and then the doctor to say what it can be. But I did my own research, etc. And from there, it was so stressful that today when I look back, I'm like, why did I even do that? But I think at that point in time, that was the awareness that I had. And I Googled through, found details, and Google, unfortunately, sorry to use the word, but it sucks sometimes, especially when it is related to health issues, because it does not allow you to think any better. Any better, it gives you thousand reasons of why probably the person will not be there with us tomorrow, versus giving us some solid reasons of, oh, this can also be the probability, or this can also be the probability. So that is that was, I think, that was my major trigger to understand that why mom, why us. Mom has always led an amazing life with good dietary practices, good exercise routines, regimes, very cautious with what she eats, how she feeds it, etc. And I could not digest the fact that she was diagnosed with something of that sort. So that is where the entire journey started. And as things started to unfold, we realized that it was stage 4 adenocarcinoma,
Oh my
and
God.
which means its origin is breast, and then it had spread to multiple organs. So again, because it's a stage 4, there was, according to doctors, there was no reversing it. There was no reversing it. So the kind of pressure that you fall into, every news is a bad news at that point in time.
Right.
So while my brother had flown down from Bangalore, he was in India, but in different city, had flown down to be with mom to take her. I knew there would come a point when my presence would be needed. I was just waiting to see how things would unfold. And on the day when I had to join my first job in Australia, I took a flight to leave to India to be with mom. So that is the place, that is the trigger why I do absolutely what I do today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's very touching story. So how did, we'll go into the details of what helped you, but how did life change after you applied some of the tools that you're going to teach us today?
The first thing, if I can instantly think of how life changed, i feel I believe that I have become more of a grounded human being
Mm-hmm.
in the every thought that I think, every action that I take, and
Mm-hmm.
every step that I make. Right. So I'm not now, when I told you about, I went and Googled through. There are incidents after that also that have happened. Like my son, elder son, just couple of months broke both his bones in left hand, which is his dominant hand. So that time I did not get into Google and see, oh, wrist bone and forearm bone broken, what can be done? So I was like, okay, this has what has happened. The step by step, let's go to the emergency and then take it from there. They were talking about, he has to go through a surgery and he has to be admitted, etc. But still, the way I now perceive things is drastically different to what I used to earlier. I allow myself to calm down first before taking the first step. That is the major shift that I would say I have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Seen, of course, it impacts your overall environment, right? Your relationships get better, your communication with your kids improve, the way you talk, the way you look, everything changes. So yeah, that is something that I truly believe.
Yeah. Yeah. And like knowing the people when they are in the stress mode, they're impulsive, they
Yes.
can't focus, they can't make the right decisions. And then one mistake leads to the other, to the other, to the other. Versus when you're calm down and you're grounded, then
Yeah.
you're able to think through and problem solve and don't not make the small thing much bigger.
Yes.
So,
I'm no longer reactive. I'm no longer reactive versus I'm now responsive.
wonderful, wonderful. Love to learn some of the tools. Our audience are eager, so please share what were the most important things that helped you.
Sure. So, one of the tools that I absolutely incorporate every day, every now and then with me and with anybody whom I have a conversation with is always go back to identifying the root cause. So there is this tool that I use from the certification that I have done, which is derived from neuro language patterns. It's called the Energetic Breakthrough Method certification. So one of the tools that I have learned from there is called as the RARE. So the RARE, the first R stands for recognize, which is absolutely important, because if you do not recognize what is causing it, nothing else will actually do the job that it's supposed to do. We are only treating the surface layer.
Yeah.
Like, for example, burnout. We all speak so openly about it. I feel so burnt out. What's the root cause? Right? So recognizing the root cause is absolutely important. Second, acknowledging that now you have recognized it, and that you're so grateful that you have had the awareness to recognize it, is what A stands for. And then another R is reframing it. Okay, now that I've recognized it, I have acknowledged it, how can I reframe this for my state of being, for my greatest potential? And then the E is embodying what we have reframed. So even for the smallest of things that happen in my life, it can be as simple as I have had an argument with my partner, with my husband, and then I'm so grateful that I recognize the root cause. While the surface layer of it might be, we just had an argument over or a cup of yogurt, example, right? But can we really have an argument over a cup of yogurt? I don't think so. There has to be something deep rooted within it. So it's about allowing myself to go, what actually triggered that argument with respect to a cup of yogurt, right? So when I go there, and I do this with journaling, see, mind wavers immediately when you start thinking about things. So the best way to stay focused is to journal things. So I go back, okay, today I have had an argument about a cup of yogurt. What's the actual reason? So let me recognize it, and that allows me to go back a couple of steps and see, okay, this is the place where I'm actually stressed. It has something to do with my work that was running in my subconscious behind my mind, and what just triggered me was a cup of yogurt. Right. So once I recognize, I'm so grateful that I did that, because the cup of yogurt is no longer valuable to me, the discussion over there. And that eases out my unnecessary conversation with my husband. And as I acknowledge, I reframe the situation that has actually triggered it, and then embody saying, all right, this is who I am now. And the cup of yogurt, which was so senseless to have created the argument, no longer makes any significant impact in the relationship at all. So
Mhm.
that is how I work through as one of my major tools.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. That is very interesting because, in my system of stress to joy, I use a similar formula and I call it CPR, mind CPR. So C is for calming down,
Yeah.
P is for processing what is coming from outside and what you
Mhm.
are doing to add to the issue. And then R is responding with wisdom. So it's
Wow.
kind of similar. Thank you for sharing that. Recognize, become aware, reframe, and
Embody.
embody. So
Yep.
wonderful. So I was wondering as you were talking, how was your life like? Were you always kind of a reactive type of person before this event happened with your mom being diagnosed? Or were you like really calm person and there was no stressor and then there was this sudden shift of stress level?
I would say I was in between. And when I say I was in between, there have been situations where I have put myself in a thinking mode that why me? And today I understand that being in that consciousness, the to me consciousness, which I'm referring to about why me, that vibration wasn't good for me. But there have also been circumstances where I would always look for, okay, this has happened. What's the possible solution that I can identify? How is it that I can come out of it? So I would say I was in middle, but with my mom's situation, and I think it's very natural because mom is mom to anybody. So it put me extremely down, because you have moved to a new country. You were there for so long in India. For me, for close to 33, 34 years, I was sitting in India, very close to where mom was. All that while nothing happens. And then as I have stepped here, got my first job, and a good paying one in just probably in a matter of 1 month after moving overseas, and you're so excited about it, and then this thing happens. It's like it breaks you down. It's like
Mhm.
all the pressure that you're carrying from shifting countries is no joke. There are
Right. So
lots of
you were already stressed out. It was probably positive stress, but yet
yes,
it still was stress. You were excited about it, but your
yes,
body was going through the shift, your
yeah,
mind was going through the shift,
yeah,
socially you were going through the shift. So your
yeah.
body is already experiencing stress, and then this was kind of the last straw and the camel's back.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, shifting completely. My husband was here some earlier, and so I had to shift with two young kids. My younger one at that point in time was barely 2 years old. So completely unwinding from India and then moving to Australia over here, with the support of some domestic help, with major responsibility being on me, wasn't easy.
Right.
So while I
we
have
don't
done
realize we don't realize how much even positive stress can affect our mind and body. So you were in
absolutely,
that state of positive stress, you had not had time to wind down, and
yep,
then suddenly this big negative stressor came. And
yep.
from the point where you were in that reactive state, you lost the weight, you were like really worked up, concerned. How did you make the shift? So I understand now that you have learned all these tools that you have been able to apply. But in that moment, if somebody, one of the audiences is going through some major stressor like that, what would you advise them what to do in that moment to kind of start shifting towards, applying these tools?
So initially, I took it up while for 4 days. I said I had dropped 4 kgs in 4 days. After that, I had made a decision. The day when I was traveling to India at the airport, I told my husband, no matter what, give me 6 months. I'll bring mom out of this and I'll be back to Australia. So I don't know where that strength came from. I think it was absolutely internal. That's what I believe. Even till today, when I think about it, I don't know where it came from. I think it's also a message from the universe that now that I have given you something extremely difficult to deal, I will also give you the strength to deal with it. Right. So I made this statement. I went to India and spent several sleepless days and nights identifying what's the best treatment, etc. But I kind of wiped my tears off and owned it totally. I owned it rather than shrugging it off and saying, oh, this is how life happens. This is how crappy it is. No. I said, okay, it has happened. Let me see what is it that we could do. Let me see how I can bring mom first from being bedridden to walking, taking few steps, and then completely out of it. And trust me, with the power that came from within, the thoughts that came from within, 3 months from when we knew what she was going through, she started to walk. She started to go back to her office. Six
Wonderful,
months, she was fully mobile. And
wonderful.
actually, 18 months, she was declared zero cancer cells in her body, state of remission, no
Wow,
cancer in her body.
wow, wow. Yeah, so our audience would love to hear some of the tools that you were able to apply. So, and like, specifically when you say this, you use two phrases, reversing hormonal imbalance and then energetic realignment. So please educate us and walk us through.
Sure. So, what exactly? Many of us are probably not even aware that there are hormonal imbalances in our body, and that's probably it makes a sense because as women, we go through several phases of hormonal changes. From when we have birth, from when we are born to puberty to marriage, childbirth, perimenopausal, and menopausal, there are different hormonal shifts that happen, and
Correct.
these are all very natural hormonal shifts that happen. Now, when the major reason, in fact, I'm doing a train masterclass as well tomorrow, which is the 16th of July, that on, what is the major reason for hormonal imbalances? It is stress. So, and I define stress, stress, as sometimes results in severe symptoms. And I brought this definition from what I saw in my mother's situation. And that is one of the major situations that I have seen in life with respect to hormonal imbalances through stress, etc. Even in my own life, I was at one time taking thyroid medication for 5 years. I was having autoimmune disease called as ankylosing spondylitis. I was going through postpartum depression after my second child, not realizing, I mean, crying randomly and not realizing why I'm crying. right? So all of these things when I studied, and what triggered me to study further was, of course, mom's situation. When I started to study, analyze, and do things, what was made to my awareness through these studies and certifications is, as much as 72% of women through burnout and stress have hormonal imbalances and barely recognize it through their life's journey.
Mhm.
Barely. So see the significant impact that it could do on someone, but we are actually not aware of it.
Yeah, sometimes
Right?
you just think this is the way it is. Like,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
growing older, so I'll be tired and I'll be exhausted,
Yes.
and I'm losing interest in things I used to enjoy before.
Yes, absolutely. And we also think, this is how life is. This is how life is, where I mean, life is stressful. Many of us, many of them have told me that. And even I thought at one point in time, not that I don't agree, but there are different ways of how you can tackle it.
Correct.
Life is not a bed of roses. It would not be good if it is a bed of roses. It has to have its pricks and the feeling of laying on bed of roses too. But we will need to understand how we work with those thorns as much as we are working lying on those soft cushioned roses,
Hmm.
right? So going back to what I said, with respect to how much women struggle with hormonal imbalances which are not natural, I have also found that while different things like, again, these are all something that the ad companies have created, that if you put yourself in good diet, if you do work out, all your issues will be solved. It will be solved. There is no doubt. But when you are putting yourself into it, what is your state of emotional being? Are you doing it from a place of, I know that I've been diagnosed with thyroid, PCOD, PCOS, diabetes, cancer, anything for that matter. I'm doing so that I can get rid of it. Or are you doing it from a place of, I want to have that peace from within? So, and that is where the energetic realignment, it's derived from the energetic breakthrough method certification that I have done. I'm a practitioner in it. And it speaks a lot about how a thought can turn into actions, that can turn into habits, that can turn into behavior, and how it again impacts our thoughts. So I work.
Full cycle.
Absolutely. And I work from here because while every woman has tried at least one diet through her life cycle, has tried one exercise through her life cycle. So I work from here of allowing my loving woman to identify what the true root cause for her health issue is. Even if it means it's a decade long, we go back and identifying and then work from there.
So wonderful. So, I'm a woman in this age group going through perimenopause, menopause. Walk me through what can I do to get energetically realigned or balance my hormones?
Sure. So, would you say, is there anything in particular that you would like to address at all, or is it the generic well being that you're talking to me about?
I think we can talk about specifically, like you were saying, when you kind of hear some news or you're dealing with some stressor, your mind starts racing a lot, and then your sleep gets disturbed. Let's focus on that, how to improve your sleep, because then if the sleep is disturbed, then your energy gets affected, the whole cascade of events start. So let's kind of focus on how to calm down the racing brain so that you can sleep well despite all the stressors going on in life.
Yes, brilliant, beautiful question. And when you were asking this question, the first thought that comes to me is the art of detachment.
Mm,
The Art of Detachment. I have read this from the book The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer.
okay.
So he speaks brilliantly about the art of detachment to people, circumstances, situations.
Mm,
Might sound very easy, but when I have implemented it, I have had that resistance because we human beings are always wanting to be connected, are always wanting to have those emotions held between each other, between things, everything for that matter. So
mm.
when we talk about the art of detachment, it is like, oh my God, do you mean that I no longer be bothered about that thing? No, no, no. It is about you detaching yourself from the emotions that thing that person has caused you. While I'm still learning to do it, I would not say I have perfected it, because when it comes to very close people like mom, husband, kids, etc., I go back to giving my child's example where he broke both his bones and we were in the emergency, and I was down with severe body pains, headache, because I had just come back from overseas trip, Spain trip, a day before, and then I was recovering from the jet lag and was in the emergency already. So I had asked myself, this is the situation that I am going through. Can it be reversed? No. Can I go back in time and ensure that my child doesn't fall, doesn't break his? No. So now that the situation is there, and I am being told by multiple nurses and doctors that he might need a surgery, what is it that I can do? I can first calm myself down, thinking that is the best solution for him, for me. And I could also allow myself to say, this is what doctors are saying. Let us see if there is a different outcome after some time. Not everything the doctors say has to be as is, isn't it? Luckily for me, because I was able to think from that perspective, they did a manual fix to his hand. And because he's a child, I think it worked. He did not need a surgery.
Mm.
See the huge shift that brings. Otherwise, whole night you keep thinking, oh, he needs a surgery. We were admitted, and they said tomorrow morning the report would come where they will say. So a whole night I was already struggling with so much body pain that I could not sleep. There is no doubt. So I had to take paracetamol with my child from the hospital and then put myself to sleep. But that shift of mind of, let me detach from it. Let me see what is good in it that I can identify. The good part is, touch wood, he's fine. It's not his face, eyes. No, it's his hand. And he's a child. They're growing. It can be recovered to full or even better for that matter. The surgery, I detached myself from it. And the next morning, I knew what it was. They said it is not needed. However, when we were discharged, I landed up with second time COVID. So you see how again the universe put me in a situation where I literally fell into bits and pieces yet again, and it was bad. COVID is no good. So it again tore me apart, because one after the other, one after the other, when things happen, you get this feeling of what next can I anticipate?
Right.
Right, and I had to put a lot of effort, lot of mindful thinking, the meditative practices that I use, mindful thinking, to detach myself from the present circumstance and allow it to act as a feedback to what I want to become or who I want to become.
That is
That is
very
how.
interesting. That is very interesting. A thought is coming to my mind. So, this art of detachment, how would it help you to reverse the hormonal imbalance? Or what is the hormonal imbalance happening when we are thinking one way or the other?
Beautiful again. So when we are thinking, which is what we human beings do today, now you and I are speaking, but again, when I speak, there are questions that are coming to your mind. When you
Right.
speak, I'm thinking of, oh, this can be the answer. So our brain is functioning 24 cross 7 into n number of years that we are there in this universe, right? So every such thought, if it is a positive thought, it carries a different vibration. The thoughts are nothing but a prism. It's in the shape of a prism, right? When you're thinking about joy, happiness, love, romance, etc., you're vibrating in a very high zone energetically.
Mhm.
Energetically proven, scientifically proven. Now when you are thinking
And
about
then you have
thoughts,
the happy hormones, the
yes,
happy
you
hormones
have
released
these.
in the body.
Absolutely, you have the happy hormones like dopamine, oxytocin being released in the body. Your entire aura is being lifted. Coming to the other side, when you're thinking about anger, frustration, jealousy, and all of those are not only putting you in the lower vibration, but the cortisol, stress hormone, gets released. Now, cortisol, stress hormone, is the major reason which dominates the other hormones in the body and creates sort of an knot and a block in every part of the body. Now, for each woman, it is different. Most of us tell that we have heavy abdominal fat. That's because the womb area is creative and sacral for us, and that's where the knots and blocks go and sit every time we have those stressful thoughts. Likewise, for me, my thyroid, which is over here, the gland over here, was weak. So when in 2015, whenever I was going through my second pregnancy, etc., so all the stressful things that I was going through in my life had triggered my thyroid gland, and I ended up getting thyroid. So that is how it plays. Stress hormones, cortisol, gives rise to energetic knots and blocks within the body, versus the happy hormones, the thoughts and vibrations, allows the oxytocin, dopamine to run in the body, creating and lifting the aura.
Wonderful, wonderful. So by shifting your thoughts and by shift detaching and changing your negative thoughts to more positive, or what we call your maladaptive thoughts to more adaptive thoughts, you're actually influencing the hormone levels in your body, and you're,
Indeed.
yeah, you're kind of bringing the balance of the hormones. That is very
Absolutely.
interesting, and I could be asking the questions whole day, and we are kind of out of time. So I absolutely love this discussion. But if you were to give us your most important message, what would that be?
I started off with this statement of, my mission, and I truly, truly mean it, Dr. Rosina. Every woman, I know there will be women who will listen to us through the course of the years, but every woman deserves to live a life medication free so that she can do more for herself and her loved ones.
Yeah.
I would urge every woman to give this a thought. We need not be dependent on medication to start our day, to run our day, to free ourselves from the ailments and diseases that we are going through. We have the power within us that we could utilize, that we could implement to go medication free. I have gone medication free. Mom takes medicines, no doubt, but she has gone cancer free. And that's a huge achievement.
Right, right. Being a doctor, I want to kind of specify when it is needed, take the medicine. But
Yep.
there are many different situations where you can, with the lifestyle changes, with the mindset, you can prevent a lot of illnesses, and that's why I'm so passionate about teaching people wellness, so they don't have to suffer unnecessary. And when it is, if the symptoms are happening, you want to get a treatment. And then let's say in cases of, let's say, diabetes, you get
Yep.
diagnosed with diabetes, you don't necessarily need to be on diabetic medication or insulin if you can reverse that diabetes through your lifestyle management. So that's why I try to focus on pre-diabetes. Don't wait till you develop diabetes. Start for acting on it at pre-diabetic so you can reverse it. Once, if you are in that mild to moderate level of difficulty, you can reverse a lot of things, and in your situation, even some very difficult situation that was affecting your mother and you. So thank you so much. If people want to reach you, how can they reach you?
They can reach me from my website, which is https colon slash slash poornimavamsi.com. So it's poornimavamsi.com. A lot of details are available over there for them to reach me. A lot of resources available over there for them to look for.
And thank you for your generous gift. So Poornima has shared her book, its PDF form of Hormone Reset, that you can download by going to our website, happyandhealthymind.com. And if you click that button of resources, you'll be able to access her gift and other resources shared by our wonderful guest on this program. And if you're in US and you would like us to send a text to the resource or reminders, please text the word joyful to number 38470, and we'd be happy to send you those links. And so let me leave you on this note. Every day is a new day, a new opportunity to make a different decision. Are you going to continue to let the life flow without any of your input, or are you going to take steps, whatever is in your control, to improve your health and wellness so that you can live your best life? If you don't need medication, you can do it with lifestyle intervention or nutritional intervention, exercise. There's so much you can do with even non-medication intervention. And if needed be, you can go on the medication, but then you will need the least amount of medication if you apply all these other pills. So, choice is yours. What are you going to choose? Take action or stay the same? On that note, stay safe, happy, and healthy. Until next time, got the reason. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Absolute honor. Thanks a lot.